So that's why he looks like
That's where
Ape
it came from.
Pagoda.
Hmm.
Right, yes, something like that. So, his concept of New York is what he learned from film and TV. Uh, so, which made it an interesting translation challenge because I have lived in New York, and so sometimes, I want to preserve the intent of what he wrote, but I don't want to put something in there that I know is wrong.
Yeah. So you speak fluent German,
I do.
German
I
fluently?
spent 3 years during my misspent youth in Germany. I did a year of high school and a year of college and my graduate school internships. And on one
Wow.
of my trips there, a Swiss German friend of mine said, "Well, you're gay and you like cartoons and you read German. You might like this guy." And he showed me some of the works of Ralph
Mm.
Koenig. He's very prolific. He has about 50 books out by now.
Oh, okay.
And I
Wow,
read
that's
a few of them and
impressive.
I was hooked. Uh, his stuff was just so funny and so insightful.
Must have been such an honor, even to translate his stuff
Right. Well,
for
it
you.
Yeah.
became my mission then. I said, because
Mm.
I've been self-publishing for a while. Uh, in the 80s and 90s, other publishers published my Jayson cartoons in wherever I could find a buyer. First in the Philadelphia Gay News, and then in Gay Comics and in the Meatmen series, I did about 20 volumes of that. That kept me busy for a while, and I self-syndicated it for a while. But I but I was always, hoping and praying that someone would buy my next six-page story. So about 10 years ago, 15 years ago now, I took control of my publishing destiny, and I said I may not make as much money, but I'll have complete control over the stories I tell. Uh, and it gave me the opportunity to work on a larger canvas by doing complete graphic novels and planning them out
Mhm.
in advance instead of just a little six-page increment at a time and hoping that someone would pay me to tell more of the story. So when I learned how to self-publish, I said, well, besides Jayson, what else would I like to put into this pipeline now that I've created one? And Ralph Koenig was the first person who came to mind. I said I would love to bring his work to a wider audience and translate it into English. And so I started doing that in 1998
Mhm. Wow.
and didn't meet him until 2008.
So
We went
how
to
old
the
is he now?
Frankfurt Book
Wow.
Fair and finally had a chance
That
to
long.
meet him, and it was wonderful. I have a picture on my Facebook page of the two of us meeting each other
Uh,
because I didn't know what kind of person he would be and whether he would be receptive at all. And he
was
was
he gonna
doing a
be
book
pissed at
signing.
you?
Yeah.
How dare? It must have been scary.
Well,
But
I,
or yeah.
I was a little anxious. I mean, because
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah,
I'm such an
of course.
admirer of his work, and I'd heard that he liked the way I translated the first two books. But who knows, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I stood in line with everyone else, and it was taking a long time because he draws pictures in everybody's book when he signs them. He doesn't just sign his name. So when I finally got to be my turn, I had brought a copy of one of my translations with me, and
Hmm.
I said in my best possible German, I said, I'm your English translator," uh, and I brought a copy. This was just after Jason Goes to
Wow.
Hollywood came out,
Hmm.
so it was 2008. So I brought a copy of that signed as a gift to him, uh,
Hmm.
and he thanked me for it. But he opened it and he handed it back to me, and he said, "You must draw something in it," because.
Uh,
Oh.
And so I have a photo on my Facebook page of each of us drawing inside the front cover of the book we were going to give to each other. It's one of those.
Wow.
So it was a magical moment.
I bet. Oh my God. I would.
so,
Oh,
so how old
I'm
is he
getting
now?
And
goosebumps just thinking about
he's
it.
a year younger than me. He was born in 1960. We're sort of leading parallel lives.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Mm, that's awesome.
So, and yes, he was very nice. He was very sweet. And what he was most interested in is the fact that I self-publish. Because he wants to write and draw, and
Hmm.
he doesn't have a head for business. Luckily, people have discovered him, and he has a manager and people and publishers who take care of him. He doesn't understand that end of the business and wouldn't want to be involved in it, but wanted to know how I got involved in it and
Hmm.
how I make that work. So, and that's what we ended up talking about.
Oh, that's
Well,
cool.
which made sense because
Oh,
we were at the Frankfurt Book Fair, which is all about business.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so changing gears for a while. Just thinking about the present technologies
Oh,
today.
yeah.
I know you're. This was a topic during the Comic Con,
Oh, yes.
BentCon
We talked. What is
convention.
the future of the printed
Yes,
page?
So right now with the iPads and all
Mhm.
these electronic formats, what is your take on this one?
Huh. My take is, when I'm I'm not I'm not I'm not so old that I remember when television replaced radio, but I do remember from reading about it that radio was the primary entertainment medium. People would gather around the radio, and then television came in, and radio didn't die or disappear. It evolved, and I think with the new digital technologies, different ways of distributing stories, I think it broadens the market, and it means that publishing is going to change. One of the other people on the panel, I'd like to say who, but I can't remember because I wouldn't want to say this was my idea, but I agree with it. Is that I think the future of publishing is going to evolve into something that's at the prestige end, high-end coffee table books with photographs or illustrations in them, and I think that's where the market will go. And there's always going to be a market for people who like paper and like turning pages.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But if we're talking about the printed word, uh, especially the low end where we had uh, paperbacks that are
Hmm.
fairly disposable, I think electronic media are the new disposable medium. You read a book and well, you enjoyed it, but you don't necessarily want to hold on to it. Well, I mean, with paperbacks, we tend to give them to our friends or loan them, and we never get them back, and we don't really care.
Hmm.
Uh, or we put them on a shelf and never read them again, and they just take up a lot of room until we decide to donate them,
Yeah.
and they end up at flea markets.
Yeah.
So there's something and there's also, especially as a self-publisher, where you try to gauge how many copies you can sell, and then you print them, uh, and and then they sit in a warehouse or a garage somewhere until you market them successfully enough that you can sell out and maybe have a second printing. It's a lot of waste. A lot
Yeah.
of wasted books.
Yeah.
You distribute them to bookstores, and then they have a year to determine whether or not they sell, and they can return them. Uh,
Hmm.
and I mean, I think that probably the sweet spot for people like us is print on demand, where it's a printed book, but you
Hmm.
don't print it until someone orders it.
Ah.
Uh,
Oh.
but the electronic media, it's getting better for cartoons. I mean, I want to I want to digitize all of my books, and I've started down that road. But you need a really good quality. You need someone who's going to handle the artwork well, and it has to be on a reader that has the resolution that makes it possible to read it and enjoy the illustrations. It's much
Yeah.
easier with the printed
Yeah.
word. So I
Yeah.
think we're going to get there, but I think it opens up other possibilities. I'm a huge fan of Archie comics,
Yes, that's true.
and in fact, the style I use when I tell my Jayson stories is that style. It's the style of a teen humor comic,
Yeah.
even though the characters are older and speak appropriately.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's one reason I shy away from drawing the naughty bits because it's just not part of that world.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
and they've
It's
gone
clean gay humor.
digital,
Yeah.
and what they
Hmm.
found in going digital is that it's expanded their market. It hasn't cannibalized it. That's people who haven't read an Archie comic in years subscribe digitally and read something they like, and then they decide to buy the hard copy, to buy the printed comic book. As a
Hmm.
result, so I think they can promote each other, and one doesn't have to eliminate the other as a possibility. I think it just gives people more possibilities to read comics in this case, wherever people happen to be, uh, in whatever medium they want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a friend of mine pointed
Oh.
out the other day about the difference between doing digital and getting a printed book. He
Hmm.
said you can go to Amazon every day and that book's on sale for $10 digitally. He said I can go to a half price bookstore or a used bookstore and get it for two.
Right.
So he said there's always going to be. He said he thinks there's always going to be a market there for people who look for cheaper means to be able to still read, enjoy themselves, and still
Hmm.
enjoy turning the page. So
That's it.
Hmm.
I mean,
yeah,
it's in traditional publishing, books come out in hardcover first, and then
yeah,
they come out in paperback, and those are two different markets. People say, I'll wait for the paperback. Other people, want the prestige of the hardcover book, and it's something they want to put on a shelf.
yeah,
So it's about finding the right price point where
Hmm.
people will want to buy it, and but also the medium, and it just gives us more media.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
And the good thing about digital, more people have access to it now,
Right.
It's
and
easier.
especially in the smaller communities where there aren't comic book stores that carry gay comics. So
Hmm.
I think in some areas the digital media for at least gay comics and stuff is probably going to be a little bit forward than anybody else. So
Right. Well, just starting with the internet, it's been such a boon to those of us who are trying to reach an audience that's pretty widespread.
yeah,
Uh, I mean, first of all, try to find. Never mind whether the comic shop carries gay comics. Try to find a comics shop.
yeah,
They're hard enough to find, and
Yeah,
they're struggling.
they're struggling.
yeah.
True.
So, and I don't really, other than for the first time this summer, I actually did a newsstand-sized comic book, which is a couple of stories from my upcoming graphic novel called Jayson Gets a Job, and which is going to come out next year. I wanted to show people where that's going, and also give people again a lower price point, because in doing graphic novels they're priced at $10 or $15, somewhere in that range, uh, and it adds up quickly.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I wanted to give especially new readers a way to step on and find out what Jayson is about for a lower price point. And so I finally put out a comic book, and which was exciting for me because I grew up in the era of newsstand comics on spinner racks at the supermarket and everywhere.
Yep.
But those
That's where I
those
got
Yep.
mine.
outlets just don't exist anymore. So the internet has been great for people like us who are trying to sell gay comics to a relatively small audience, and one that's very widely distributed.
Hmm.
So it's just it's another way to reach people.
So, do you think you're going within the year or so? Maybe you would go digital or something?
I think I would like with Jayson Gets a Job, which is coming out in 2012, to put that out digitally, and then start offering the entire catalog of the older series digitally as well. I started down that road with Zan Christensen, who was a founding member of Prism and has now founded Northwest Press, which is a LGBT specific public comics publishing organization, and
Hmm.
because he thought that he had it all figured out, and it turned out not to be. So I actually I cleaned up the earlier stuff, the content of Jayson, best of the '80s and best of the '90s, because
Hmm.
that stuff was done in the era of Zipatone. Uh, so that really didn't reproduce well on a screen. So
Mm.
I had to do Gaussian blurs on every page, and I had to
Ah,
clean up the text in the balloons to make it readable. So all of that
that
is
bad, huh?
it's ready
Wow.
digitally. I'm looking for the right partner. So I'm hoping that we can make those announcements in 2012.
Oh, that's
Awesome.
cool.
That's good. And I'll be downloading them definitely.
Yeah, I think what I want to do on the website, which is ignite-ent.com, because our publishing company is called Ignite Entertainment. So for your listeners, that's
Yes.
ignite-ent.com,
Okay.
which is where all you can find all of our books. And right now, if you want to buy them, you click through from there to Amazon.com. Uh, Although we'll probably uh, we're prepared finally to take credit cards. I just don't know if we want to get into the fulfillment business ourselves.
Yeah,
I'm
Yeah.
that's kind of
perfectly happy
tricky.
with my partnership with Amazon.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
I think what
I
we're
don't
going to
so.
do with Jayson Gets a Job is put it out digitally week by week, uh, as as we gear up and get ready to publish it, so that we can sort of build excitement.
Hmm.
So I think that'll be our first time we're going to dip the toe in the digital waters in trying to put Jayson out there.
That is good. Yes. Well, if that comes, we would love to have you on the show again,
Yeah.
so we could talk about it again. And
Oh, sure. Oh, that yeah, because that's a juicy book. Did you have a
oh,
chance to
definitely.
read the Jayson Comics sampler, the
Yes, I
convention
did. The
exclusive that I sent you?
convention. Oh yeah, I love it. And
So
it,
so
uh,
if you get to the end of that second story, you're going to want to read more.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I did. My God, I would. This is